Austin.
Oh yeah, what's going on?
Oh, you're gonna fake some energy. Okay. I see how it is. I just woke up. I woke
Yeah,
up. I woke up specifically to talk about 40k for the lovely people. Because they gotta get it. They have to get it. In fact, they're in fear if they miss out on it.
they're gonna get it,
They have to get it. They're compelled to get it. They're conditioned to get it by advertising practices.
and we're here giving it.
That's right. That's right. Because we are no better than them. Um, And I've got it recently. I mean, my gosh, so much old world stuff. And my boats came in for Black Seas. But that is for later in the show. That's for the Bits box. But first, we're going to open up the Vox channel and read some of your comments. Yes, indeed, listener comments. These come from YouTube, and they come from the Should I Quit 40K episode that came out a week before last. And David Wasilewski says, I quit 40k and am into Legion Imperialis now instead. Much more fun to paint and play. And he got to be the
I'm
only
not.
one in the world, right?
I was about to say I'm not sure how much fun painting the infantry in Legion Imperialis must be.
They are very small.
I,
I have so many questions about what Dave has got going on.
I I've dipped my toe into Flames of War before, and the tank side of that game's fun, painting all the miniature tanks. The infantry though, it's like you put a blob of khaki, put a blob of brown for boots, blob their helmets, blob their flesh, maybe shade it to hide all the blobbing.
And you're done.
Yeah. And there's Space Marines in Legions Imperialis, so it's like blob red for Blood Angels, shade, done.
I could see how the Knights could be fun, like you could really get in there with them because they're small enough relatively to actually hold in your hand while you paint them. And you could
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying about tanks. The vehicles they're fun. It's like painting Hot Wheels cars, but then once you get to the infantry, it just seems like the appeal kind of dies out.
Well, the other thing too is I wonder about like the scale of your basing materials has got to get funny, because if you put your sand becomes gravel, you know.
Yeah, well, a lot of the like infantry bases they're just textured to be like concrete or asphalt.
Oh, are they? Okay, so they've
Yeah, they're
already
pre-textured in
yeah
that game.
they've already thought about it. Well, that's interesting. I just kind of thought like, well, you are the only one, David, but that's nice that he came up with something else because again, the whole idea of that pod, and this next comment is one that is a bit. Sometimes I think people they just see the title and they comment, which is
Yeah.
fine because we just want the engagement. Honestly, that's why we read these to encourage you all to say something, but then if you say something good, we'll talk about it, right? But David Shaw 123451001 says, "No, terrible idea. If you don't mention Warhammer, your channel will not grow. I'll also be honest and say I have zero interest in non-Warhammer IPs." Okay, to that I say,
Warhammer purist.
okay. Yeah, I mean the deal is if the shoe sometimes valued listeners, we will have a main topic that the shoe will not fit you, and that's okay. Now, I of course am always here for being told off or any sort of negativity that you want to give us because again, interaction is interaction. However, I thought that one was kind of silly. And look, there are plenty of people who are only interested in Warhammer, but if you're only interested in Warhammer and Warhammer is the way that you interact with the hobby, then obviously the Should I Quit Warhammer main topic was not really geared for you. So I thought that was amusing.
Mm-hmm.
But we always appreciate your comments and hope that you leave some over on YouTube, which is where those came from, or over on Spotify where you can leave comments. Also, go on Spotify and rate the podcast 5 stars. Don't rate it 4 stars or 3 stars. That is weak sauce, okay? Don't do that. Give it 5.
Weak.
Weak. your your uh, your explanation there made me think of when someone would drop their tray in the lunchroom and the
Yeah.
whole student body, you remember what they would do? Or am I
What
this
did
much
they do?
older than you? They would go, boo.
Oh, I think in my time people would just clap.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
bit
forget.
like a bit
You're
of a
something
passive
like,
aggressive.
yeah, you're something like 10 years younger than me, and y'all are soft. No, we would just add insult to injury to the poor kid who now had nothing to eat, and just boo him mercilessly had as if he had got up to display his talents and then was revealed to have none.
Yeah.
It was a vicious time in the early 2000s. Oh man, get in the comments and let us know what it's like or what it was like, what it is currently like or what it was like if you dropped your tray in the lunchroom these days or back in the day. That'll be a fun comment to read. Did everybody just gather around like it was a World Star video if there was a fight? Are you like nobody helped, right? You're not that young.
I can't really remember fights happening in school, or at least I wasn't around when they happened.
Well, it would become like a gladiator event if two people tied up during lunch. Just you'd have it 25 deep all the way around, and I mean it didn't matter if one party was about to die. There was no intervention. just just spectators. It was
Yeah.
vicious. Good school, highly rated. Um, let's close the Vox channel for today and open up the Bits box. Open it up.
Opening it. Er!
Your sound effect has gotten somewhat abbreviated, sir.
Well, we got so much stuff to get to. I got to shorten it to just fill up the time with hobby stuff.
I know you do be ripping that thing open these days because you're hobbying again. Who
Oh
are
yeah.
you?
I am a dwarf painter.
Oh man, I'm gonna stab those boys up so bad.
Got to get through this T4 4-up save.
Well, I mean, I don't know what my rules are, how anything works, but I believe in my guys, and you don't understand our mentality.
Yeah. I have a higher leadership than you actually.
That's crazy. That's just because you guys are stubborn beyond all reason.
Oh yeah, dwarves be marching through the chaos waste, being like, "What's all this tomfoolery? I don't believe in magic."
How is the dwarf painting going?
It's going pretty well. I'm working on this regiment of dwarf warriors. I'm leaning back to look at them over in the corner. Got the working on the blue. I got most of the blue. I got all the blue on basically. On got the chainmail painted. Got the leather painted. Uh, gonna be doing some different like bronze, gold, metallics later on. Once I get more into the detail work, I was working on the beards. Got a nice mix of black beards, brown beards, and blonde beards, and then one gray beard going on in them. Yeah, I think today I'm gonna try to do the metallic detail work after I do some shading on them, get some Nolan oil on the hallbarks, and then get the blue shaded up with a night. Is it Night Lord shade blue? Something like that.
Don't get me lying.
Nightingale blue.
Yeah, don't get me lying on some washes and shades because I am trying not to use them at all on my elves. I am using
I like
some.
them.
Yeah, I'm using some here and there on things like there's a lot of scale mail on my dudes, and so that gets Army Painter Dark Tone, which came in my new paint set, and it's great. It's super thin, and it gets right up in all the little crevices, and they're real dark. It's almost like a pen liner. So I've really been enjoying
Mhm.
that. I got my 12-man unit of spearmen done, and I really like the way they look. I did something different with their faces because they've got these long, pointy helmets, and they come
Yeah.
far around their cheeks, and they go halfway down the bridge of their nose, which is a proper helmet design. Which kudos on Games Workshop for making a helmet that looks like it actually protects your head. But it makes for their faces being so sunk into that thing and so tiny that I thought, well, there's not even anything here to paint. So I just went through with a contrast paint and stuck a flesh tone on there, and then
Mhm.
I made myself kind of a slurry of a lighter color and essentially did a wash. And they look a little bit So my archers I did, and they look almost like a cartoon, right? They're very fleshy
Yeah.
and pink, and they look super vibrant. And then these guys look a little more um, abstract, you know,
Hmm.
which is fine. And I think that they'll be a unit that's just like that, and maybe I'll do that again on another unit. But I think I think I like the more caricature type of faces and skin going forward. So that's
Hmm.
probably what I'm going to continue to do. But the idea has been to have a little bit of a mishmash of different looking elves per unit, not in a unit. I think in a unit they should be pretty uniform to
Hmm.
just beat the uni dead horse. But also, I kind of feel like that the elves are I mean, they're a fairly homogenous population too.
Oh yeah.
So I could see how like the spearmen come from one town over and they all look like this, and then the archers come from this town over and they look like that. Um, Last night I think I painted for 4.5 hours,
Hmm.
and I did a ton of airbrushing. I'm working on the chariot, so I've got two chariots. They're both going to be horse drawn, not lion drawn, as I had originally said. The sort of army construction doesn't work very well that way, I don't think.
Hmm.
Um, but I got myself two white horses. I did the chariot body, and while I was doing that, in between various steps and experimenting and whatnot, I painted my first boat. The first
Oh.
Boat. The Black Seas mystery box from Warlord Games has arrived, and what a haul it was, sir. So,
Oh yeah.
so I opened up the
Bring 'em
box.
on.
I opened up the box, and I never got one of these mystery boxes, which they do periodically. Um, and it said that you get a starter set guaranteed, and then some other bunch of stuff to the tune of like $160 value. Okay.
Hmm.
And when I opened the box, I thought, well, this is kind of a small box to begin with. I opened the box, and there's my starter set, and it's excellent. And then only one other box. Well,
Oh
it's the
no.
entire French naval fleet. It's like
Oh wow.
it's like a dozen boats. It's a giant resin ship. It's big ones, little tiny gunboats that are like one unit. Again, done in Warlord resin. There's metal pieces to do named ships. So with the
Hmm.
plastic kit, you then put these metal stern caps and mascots on the front, right? So that
Hmm.
they're actual historical named ships, and it's just awesome. So I painted up the first one, a frigate of the Royal Navy, and I did it. I kind of did. I did like a contrast. Well, primed it all black as usual. Zenithal white, contrast paint, the deck kind of a brown, and then I did brown, yellow top, white line all the way around,
Hmm.
and it looks awesome. And I can't wait. I'm. It doesn't. I don't have the sails on. I don't have the rigging on because I think you have to put the rigging on so that you have something to glue the sails to. So when I do that, I think it's going to be incredible. It looks so
Yeah, you're
cool.
gonna have to show that to me because I don't think I've seen it yet.
I didn't send you a picture. I sent you a picture of a primed one, but I'll take a picture and send it to you. It's
Yeah.
awesome. It painted up quick. You know, there's nothing going on really with it because
Hmm.
they're so small that
Yeah.
you could go crazy and paint all the little details on the deck because there are quite a few. But due to the scale, you don't have to. And then you got to imagine there's going to be sails all across the top, and there's going to be rigging and other stuff to look at. So
Yeah.
it's
You know.
great. The book,
I,
the instruction book for this game has got like 20 pages of naval history, glossary, information about various crew member types, which have nothing to do with the game necessarily, just stuff about the age of sail. There's literally a
hmm.
glossary of naval terms and things, and it's got it's got like it's got like pictures of a boat with all the various you know what the stuff is called, the ropes
Yeah.
and the things, which I've not studied very close, so that's why I'm calling them the ropes and the things.
Hmm.
But it's awesome, and the game looks great.
Yeah, you came in looking for a boat game and ended up with a history book.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you too. I've read through all the rules of the game so that I could begin to get my head around playing it, and I'm gonna call this the gold standard for how you do a miniatures game rulebook. It's so
Okay.
good. It's so clear. The way the sections go, the sort of it manages to not. Sometimes you get a rule book and it spends a whole long time defining a lot of things,
Hmm.
and then that's over in section one. But then you get over to section 5 or 6, and you keep having to go back to the definitions, and it's like real particular how that thing is defined for it to function. This
Yeah.
doesn't do that. It kind of gets to the part as you get to the part so that the whole concept of moving your boat is all contained in the moving section
Hmm.
rather than be in the sort of introduction of core philosophies and da da da, which it has that, but it doesn't. It spends more time telling you, hey, this is not a naval sailing simulator,
Yeah.
which of course it isn't. That would not be fun. I mean, naval combat is done over the course of hours or days, and you wouldn't want to do that. These games take long enough to play anyhow. But I think we're gonna have fun with that.
Hmm.
You mentioned possibly doing a American fleet, and you should just go ahead and order it. It's gonna be a slam dunk.
Yeah. If so, I texted you a couple days ago about me looking into this stuff, and I'm facing the same kind of reaction to it that new people getting into like Warhammer have. Where you get like the new person who's like, "Oh, I want to play Warhammer," and they like look at the game and they're like, "Wait, I have to paint the Space Marines?" That's kind of how I am with it. I'm like, I have to rig my sails. What?
So I've been thinking about this. Like, first of all, you don't have to. You could just have it with naked mast and whatnot. Or you could just attach the sails to the mast that will attach to the mast, right? Because your foresails are going to run down your ropes,
Yeah,
so you can't have those unless you do some rigging. But you could have like the big square sails all over the thing, and it'll look great.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I'm not anti rigging. I'm just saying like it's a new introduction to I guess a hobby aspect I wasn't expecting.
yeah, for sure. I think what I'm going to do is hang it. So you do this with thread, folks, like with sewing thread. It looks intense. I think I'm going to hang my piece of thread and drip super glue down it to make a cable, and then just cut lengths of cable because there in no way that I'm tying these tiny knots and they stay anywhere on. So I think just dab a super glue on each end, measure twice and cut 3 or 4. I think that's going to be the move.
I also wonder if you were to go the tying route, if then afterwards you were to apply like some watered down like wood glue or like Elmer's glue, if that would help kind of like cable them up after the fact.
Yeah, well,
Because I know people do that with their banners when they do paper banners. They'll paint back over it with a watered down glue formula to harden them.
yeah. What people do for this, I understand, is either they do what I'm saying, or you sort of lay it over a place and super glue it, and then pull it over to the next place and super glue it, and then cut the edges. Trim them off as though it's part of the model. But I feel like at that point it might as well be like I say, where my thinking is if I hang it straight down and run the super glue down it, then it'll just be a cable because
Yeah.
the thread's going to absorb that stuff and it'll just be solid. But
Okay.
we'll see. That's what I got on my bits box. The old world army is coming along quickly.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have three unique units, and
Yeah.
I'll be ready to dispatch your dwarves presently.
Hmm.
Did I
Or
tell?
goblins.
Yeah, or goblins. I forget you got the goblins too. Um, did I mention that I got the new Nachman Gauntlet Crusade book?
You have not.
So that's a new thing that I have purchased along with my Old World Army, and I want to talk a little bit about it here in the Bits box because I want to do a crusade with a few people. I've pitched it to you, um, and I'm not sure if you'll get into it, but we'll see. But it's really interesting. It's got, I mean, it's a great book. It's much more down my street kind of setting than the Pariah Nexus, which I really enjoyed and have played. But it does a lot of new deep strike and deployment rules for the Nachman Gauntlet Crusade, where you declare you declare like a formation, and what that has to do with is the size of the waves that your army is required to be broken into and deployed as.
Yeah.
So, if you're playing a 1,000 point game in the Nachman Gauntlet, you are required to have your force broken into a primary wave and three secondary waves. And then turns one, two, and three, you deploy everything in your primary on the board, has to be on the board. And then on turns two, you deploy another wave of your choosing. And then in turn three, a final wave of your choosing. So one of your waves does not get used. And
Hmm.
they can be different sizes, so you can have it either more front loaded, or you can have your waves be be bigger, so that more of your army comes later. And there's very interesting deep strike rules. There's a random table.
Hmm.
There's a random table for
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to deep strike in, and it can all go wrong, which is fun. Um, there's also some rules where if somehow your opponent is screening you just out of oblivion, you could still bring your guys in like just outside of engagement range on your own board edge if you have to, which I feel like that's kind of an edge case scenario that somebody would have the whole entire board completely covered where you can't get anything in anywhere. But it's
Yeah.
neat. I mean, it's a totally different way to play the game. Obviously, it's a little bit of mathing, but I don't think that takes but a couple of minutes with the calculator before you start. And the way the bookkeeping works in Crusade anyway, like you're sort of gonna figure out your waves, days ahead of time before you actually play the battle. So you got plenty of time to tweak and twiddle. And because you're not using one of the waves, if it's a 1,000 point game, you actually bring 1250, and
Hmm.
for 2,000 you bring like 2450 or something like that, and it goes all the way to 3,000 point games. It's got missions for, and they've got all
Yeah.
kinds of crazy rules and new agendas. And of course, if you have your codex, you can use your crusade rules there and use those agendas. So it's all over the place, and I like it.
Hmm.
I know you hate this part, but even the epic heroes have got some buffs that they get in the Nachman Gauntlet. So
Oh really?
even they get a little bit of love because uh, traditionally in Crusade, your epic hero characters are just kind of above it all. They don't
Hmm.
gain experience. They don't take battle scars. They don't get any kind of battle trait or anything. And in this, they get a small boon for participating, which I think is
Hmm.
nice. I mean, Harken World Claimer, my probably my favorite character in the Chaos Space Marines, possibly all of Warhammer, is on the cover of the thing. So it's neat that he gets some love and representation.
Yeah.
But that is my bits box.
Close it.
Close it.
Boom.
Yeah, that's better. That's good work. That's good work by you, sir. That was the long bits box. I hope that you guys get in the comments and tell us how much you get annoyed at a long bits box, or tell the people at what minute the main topic starts and miss all that good content. You bunch of jerks. I'm playing. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things about not just Warhammer, but the miniature hobby at large. I wonder, Austin, how many people think that I'm a crazy person when I say I don't really know what my high elf rules are, but I've got some units built.
I mean, they might think like, well, why do you buy high elves if he doesn't know anything about them?
Yeah, and the reason why is because of what we're talking about today. The rule of cool and how to do it. We need a sound effect for when we say these main topics.
We do.
That'd be classy. Maybe we'll just clip what I did and play it every time.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of funny. Anyhow, the rule of cool. Um, I've got 3 notes here. Do you have notes for this one, or are you
Oh,
just gonna
I'm playing it by ear.
see? Look. You are a broadcast professional. That's what we are, you know. Or are we? Do we have to get paid to be a professional? I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I don't know. Someday it'll be obvious to us. God willing. Anyway, the rule of cool and how to do it. My first note is, what is it? Do you know what it is?
Let me think. I think rule of cool is if something is really cool, you ought to just do it.
That's literally it. Like, there's this is not something that can be overcomplicated. As far now, we're going to get into some stuff that it gets more interesting. But if you hear somebody talk about rule of cool, it is quite obviously, uh, what's your army about? Man, they're just bitching. The new Emperor's Children are absolutely going to be way overpowered and excellent. Oh shoot! I just remembered I've got a correction to make. So put this in the show notes down below in the description because uh, last week I said that the new Emperor's Children battle line units that are the most overpowered thing that has ever existed get 2 melta guns per 5. That's not true.
Oh.
They get a melta and a plasma gun per 5. So per 10, you've got 2 meltas, 2 plasmas, which is still
Okay.
ridiculous. So
Just different type of ridiculous.
yeah. So you actually have some long range, extra powerful shooting in addition to your sticky objective, in addition to your infiltrate. It's ridiculous. Anyway, rule of cool. It's all about getting the stuff you like. Getting the stuff you like, whether it's good or bad or otherwise. Looking at you, aircraft of all description. I've got a Helldrake that I've got to paint pretty soon. I'm looking forward to it. Is it any good? No. No, Austin, it is not good at all. But have you seen it?
Oh yeah, it's pretty big.
Vashtor the Archiphane? You know what he is? Cheeks.
Cool.
He's Cheeks, though.
He's cool.
I took him the other day. He was so cool. He hit some stuff with his hammer. Didn't even have any vehicles to hit with his hammer. He was just walking around bonking inappropriate stuff with his hammer during a 1,000 point game against the homie Donnie who came by the house and played his Necrons again me. That was a lot of fun. Uh, we played Windows in the terrain. You know why?
This is cool.
It looks cool. That's all the rule of cool is. Now, how do you play it? This
Uh,
now becomes the discussion. I believe to play rule of cool, it requires a dance partner. Okay?
okay.
You cannot go out dancing by yourself. You can go out and find a dance partner by yourself, but before you get on the floor, I recommend that you find yourself a dance partner. Now, what kind of party are we at? Is that
Dance party.
well, but what kind of dance party? Is it a dance party where people actually know dances? Because now I got to know some dances. You see where I'm going with this?
A little bit.
All right. What type of 40k game would I be required to know the tango?
Probably a tournament.
A tournament, exactly. Not just old anybody can get out here and tango, right? You got to have
Right.
a particular education in the matter. You've got to have the right outfit. You've got to know what is and is not appropriate to do with a randomly selected tango partner because it gets wild, that stuff. Right? You can bust her head if you're not careful. She'll cut you with a Louboutin. Okay?
Yeah.
It's, it's not a game, but it's a dance party too. And so your dance partner has to, in some ways, match what you're trying to do. So, what you have to do to play Rule of Cool is announce to everybody that might, to all potential suitors, hey, I want to play some Rule of Cool. Now, everybody's going to jump up and say, but my local community only wants to play competitive. That's all they play. They play competitive, so you can't do that, or they show up and they're going to crush you with your cheese, like we've talked about before. Okay, you offer them a little carrot. All right, you say, hey, you sidle up to the bar. There's dancing going on in the back, and it's not fancy dancing, right? You just need a dance partner. You need somebody that wants to get out there and shake it with you. And
Do
so,
some dirty dancing.
yeah, like that, possibly. So how do you figure that out? Well, maybe you put a little money on it. You buy some drinks. Right, Austin? Now, what would the Warhammer equivalent of buy some drinks be? One, you could literally buy some drinks and have it at somebody's house, or have it at
I
your
was
own
about
house,
to say.
host a game. You could do that. In fact, the homie Donnie brought a 6-pack of beer over to the game the other day, and I was like, look at you, classy sir.
Wow.
Right? And
Yeah.
he had brought Necron Rule of Cool, and I had Vashtor against no vehicles. And we had fun.
Mm-hmm.
We drank the whole 6-pack. It was about right on time for the entire game. It was perfect. It was lovely. I'm seeing him again next week. But if you're out in public, the buy the drink is you can bring your legend stuff.
Ooh.
Oh, all those competitive people, they got a whole shelf of stuff that they're mad at. I can't even play that no more. Right? And you say,
Yeah.
hey man, I want to get a Rule of Cool game. I got a bunch of stuff that I like that I don't ever get to use. You still got those legends things? And they're like, of course I do. Can't move them. They're worthless on eBay because they're legends and they might as well be lit on fire. And you say, bring them out, bring them out. Now you got a Rule of Cool dance partner.
We're
Huh?
dancing.
Huh? You're
Yeah,
dancing. You're dancing.
we're
And
dancing.
let me tell you something. The Rule of Cool game is contagious. I've
It
seen some
is.
I've seen some very, very competitive folks walk by while I've been playing my various Rule of Cool lists because I kind of always do this. Even in a tournament, I only cook up but so many shenanigans. I just
Mm.
tend to take what I feel like taking on the day. And uh, I've seen many a real competitive guy walk by, see my list, say, "What the heck are you playing?" And then start talking about the cool stuff that they've got that they never use. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
and I always make sure to say like, "Hey man, I'll play all that. I'll play you against all that stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And then I add, you can even bring legends stuff, and you see a little twinkle happen. You see a little interest brewing.
Yeah.
That's a potential dance partner. So what do you think of all that? I
Oh,
kind of like this dance party looking for a good time analogy that we've made, this metaphor.
yeah. I mean, it fits. I'm just not much of a dancer.
Well, I mean, neither am I. But you know what I am into? Rule of
What?
cool,
Yeah.
doing cool stuff. Some more. The third point I have is: are there limits to the rule of cool? Like, D- like, is there a spot where this lifestyle kind of runs out, where it just doesn't even make any sense? To which I say yes and no. We covered a little bit about the tournaments and how, you know, sort of must be so tall to ride type thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's how the tournaments are. However, and you guys can get in the comments and let me know if the competitive crowd actually cares about this or not. But you can bring your rule of cool list and just get your head kicked in for 3 games and see what happens. And
Hmm.
perhaps by being underestimated by your non-meta list, or perhaps by some clever gamesmanship, you may win, or at least very much impede your opponent's progress in the tournament, which can be its own kind of fun. Just to be the sort of agent of chaos in the thing and play spoiler. So that's
That's my
kind of,
kind of fun.
yeah, I love doing that. I love doing that. I like when it's apparent that I am not going to win, but then I'm just like, all right, you're going to beat me, and you're going to score 42 points.
Yeah.
And so my question to the broader, especially competitive community, if any of them even bother listening to us at this point, um, how does that make you feel? Like, I imagine the people that show up wanting to win the tournament, they would like for a they would like for someone who is certain to lose a game to just roll over and let them score 100. But I don't think I don't think anybody's doing that, whether they're taking a rule of cool list or a cheese list that just didn't happen to fire, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's on you to score 100. If me and Vashtor against no vehicles can stop you from scoring 100, then I kind of think you were never going to anyway.
Yeah, I don't think you deserve first place if you can't beat that.
That's right. That's right. If you can't just tee off on me and my bunch of stuff that I like, then yeah, you shouldn't be winning. So, like I say, it's kind of yes and no. Now, to do that, you have to be okay with losing a lot. And I know some people are not good about that. And at the tournament, it can often not only be, I'm going to lose 3 times, it's, I'm going to lose in some ways that just are silly. You know,
Hmm.
like, you play 2 turns and your army's dead and you've not killed anything. They score 100 points and you've got plenty of time to go eat lunch between the rounds, you know? To
Yeah.
which I would say, well, then why'd you even sign up for the tournament? Because the Rule of Cool game works so much better in a random one off pickup game.
Hmm.
Heck, show up to play 2,000 points. Your opponent brings cheese. They crush you in 2 turns. Talk them into re-racking for 1,000 points of the cool stuff. Because I find often when that sort of thing happens, like, your opponent knows, it's like, oh, well, I'd misunderstood what we were doing here.
Hmm.
But I've got my models. I'm out for the day. We're having fun. We intend to have some fun. Like, you can get people to do that.
Hmm.
That's like showing up to the place, finding out that it's a tango hall, which I don't think those 2 words have ever gone together, and then meeting somebody and being like, "Hey, you want to hit the little spot downtown?" And then moving on over there, and you
Yeah.
end up having a fine time. I think that's all I have on Rule of Cool. Hey,
Yeah. I, I
go
like
ahead.
Rule of Cool. I love when I build a 40k army. I'm there for the Rule of Cool. I just want to take everything that I like, all the little fun little things I like, and just try to cram them all into 2,000 points as much as I can, and just see if I can make it work. And I've been playing Rule of Cool so long that I feel like I've got kind of an idea of how to make these things work, even though like practically they probably shouldn't. They're not meta.
Yeah, I also think that sometimes, because the so I got a couple of points here to close. One, the whole reason we're talking about Rule of Cool is to try to empower people who I see online, and of course online is a fairly non-serious place to talk about anything, right? It does not, I believe, reflect real feelings about anything, okay? But there is a lot of disenchantment about 40k online all the time. The YouTube videos do best when they're hateful, when it's like, GW's ruined blank. Wizards of the Coast has killed D&D. It's like I had never seen people playing D&D that are having a bad time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I want to try to empower people who feel a little bit disenchanted either by a bad experience or by the sort of noise that they get from the internet constantly as they try to interface with this hobby in those more passive ways, like listening to this lovely podcast, um, to get out there and try some stuff. The other thing too is the people that are really really into the meta, I feel like sometimes don't know how to play against some stuff that is so far away from the meta where
Yeah.
you're like you're playing guard with big old blocks of dudes and trying to set up cavalry charges and things. And that's not a way that anybody is used to playing 40k. There and so sometimes you can catch some people out that way. Especially if they see your list and think, "Oh, that's nothing I've seen lately." I'll blow them off the table and they may not even know what you've got going on.
Yeah.
So, the other point here, and I really do believe this, 40K 10th edition is the most balanced version of this that there has ever been, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
There is
They're really streamlining it.
there is plenty of cheese to be found. However, if you or I go to our miniature shelves and grab, say, 800 points of stuff and play a game, it will more than likely be a good game.
Mm-hmm.
If we grab 1,500 points, we grab 2,000 points worth of stuff, it'll probably be a good game. If all we do is find the most powerful units in the margins of points, like the whole Bill Belichick winning in the margins type stuff. If we don't do that, or if we do that, then we will find there are exploits to be had, right? We've
Yeah.
got a balanced data
Mm-hmm.
slate that'll probably be out by the time this podcast gets to you all, and I'm sure that there will be some points changes on some stuff. Looking at you, various Emperor's Children battle line.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure. They've got too many abilities, man. It's crazy. Those dudes are some Swiss Army knives, and they're cheap as chips.
Yeah.
There's going to be competitive lists of just like 120 some odd Space Marines running around that you just are not going to be able to move fast enough for the way that they're going to have everything sticky down and be killing you.
I bet they actually boosted them just because they lack a lot of unit diversity in the codex.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened, which we talked about that briefly last week. It's crazy to me that they had the opportunity to flesh out that range with all of the Slanesh demons and then included 5 and said, hey, you can only take them in one detachment. That is the biggest fumble that GW's made in a long time. Because just think of the rule of cool. If you could have taken any of those detachments and it could have been Space Marines and Slanesh chariots.
Yeah.
Get in my face. Let us know down in the comments on Spotify or on the YouTube. I think I'm giving up on the X. Nobody's talking to me on X. I might save my $11 a month on that. Get
Yeah.
at me on X and tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you will. YouTube, Spotify. Uh, a lot of our listeners listen on Apple Podcast, which we certainly appreciate. Do rate and review there if you're able, but I don't think you can leave a comment. So you're going to have to get on the YouTube and be like, that'd be fun. Get on the YouTube and say, Apple listener here, and then yell at us because we want to hear from you too. Join our Discord. It is free to join. Link below. Until next time, where we talk about I don't know what. I've been
Stay
Shane.
snackable.
That's Austin, and he already said it. So we out.